Yes,
Well,
please.
hello, Jill. We have our Kansas City culinary star with us again. And today we are uh, covering everybody's favorite holiday, Thanksgiving, at least mine. And we have
Yes.
more classes coming up with Jill next year. We still have to work on those.
Yes, but I have a whole plan for you,
Yeah,
Magda.
send me some ideas. Send
You
some
got it.
ideas my way. All right, welcome everyone. Let's do early Thanksgiving.
Ooh. Thank you so much, Magda. I hope everybody is having a fabulous day. It's absolutely gorgeous outside today. And that always makes me very happy. So, one thing, I'm going to try to get my picture in the center here. Do you know how to do that, Magda?
Let me do that. I'm the one who should do that.
Okay, just so I
Uh-huh.
can make sure you guys can see what I'm showing you the right things. All right,
Yes,
now there. Thank you, Magda. You're amazing. Okay,
as long as you
so
remind me, then I can do that.
cool. Thank you so much. All right, so I've got a whole bunch of notes that I have posted here today, guys, because we have a lot to talk about. So I'm going to dive straight into it. And we are going to make two things together. All right. The first thing that we're going to make is my favorite side dish, which is the green bean casserole. Now,
Hmm.
I grew up with the standard Campbell's green bean casserole recipe that my grandmother made every single Thanksgiving, and I loved it. But as I grew up and my palate started to change and, really elevate, I decided that this was going to be one of those dishes that I took to the next level. So we have taken out the Campbell soup and we are going to make our own cream of mushrooms sauce base for this. And we're going to use whole green beans, which is another thing that I really, really love to do. And we're going to take the fried onions and we're going to take them up another notch because we've got to have them be a little bit crunchier, a little bit crispier, okay? Because that's how I like them. So um, we are also going to be making a dry brine turkey. All right. Now, this dry brine can be used for any protein, but I specifically wrote this recipe for turkey based on the flavors and spices and herbs and stuff that I'm going to be using. But this technique, which is really the important part that I want to continue to teach you guys and to make you understand that it's the technique and the method for this dry brine that I want you to really focus on learning because you can then create your own dry brine using any ingredients that you like. All right. So to get started, I really just want to talk very quickly about some of these notes that I have. And the first one is where are we in the month and where do I need to be in my preparation for the big day? Because if you're anything like me, you're going to go way overboard on everything, which means that you're going to be spending a ton of time in your kitchen. So there's a few things that you want to make sure that you hammer out ahead of time to make sure you have great success. All right. So the first one I want to talk about is this week. What can we do this week to make our job easier for Thanksgiving? And the first thing is, guys, let's plan our menu. All right. That is something that everybody can take half hour to sit down and just plan your menu. What you don't want to do is get to the grocery store and start buying things willy nilly because while it sounds like fun, you're going to get it all back to the house and you're going to be like, what did I buy this for? What is this going into? What now I have all this extra stuff. So by planning a menu, you can really narrow down your ingredients. All right. So I start with my menu plan. All right. And I write it out. This is what I want for appetizers or hors d'oeuvres or finger foods or anything that's just sitting on the table that people can kind of munch on throughout the day. Right. Then I'm going to start in with my first course, which is either going to be a soup or a salad. Right. So you're going to fill that in a second course, you can follow it with a soup or a salad if you want to. But I choose to usually serve those both at the same time, right? People want soup, great. I have a beautiful soup there for them. If they want a salad, I have a great tossed salad, or sometimes even a couple of different options on salads, right? So that takes care of the first two courses. Then we're going to get into the main course. Are we serving turkey? Are we serving ham? Are we serving a beef tenderloin? Guys, sky's the limit when you cook at home. All right. So don't be pigeonholed into making what you think everybody else wants to eat on Thanksgiving. Get creative. All right. And just go for it. If nobody makes turkey, why be making it? I don't know. There's so many other options. And honestly, this dry brine that we're going to use can be done on pork chops, on chicken, on even on fish. All right, and vegetables. I don't time brining beef, but you could even use it on there. So I'm going to take a peek behind me though, because I have some panko breadcrumbs on my burner here, and I just want to make sure they're not too dark. They look great. So main course, right? Whatever you're going to make as your main course. For the sake of argument today and for what we're working on, we're going to say turkey. Then you got to think about the sides. The sides. The sides are my favorite part of Thanksgiving, guys. I mean, I really am not the biggest turkey fan in the world. Most of the time it comes out dry and tasteless, which is always a disappointment in my book. So I tend to do things a little bit differently. I have done a turkey roulade, right, which is like a porchetta, but turkey breast, where you stuff it and roll it and cut it into pinwheels. Beautiful. Chef's kiss. I do a delicious Chateaubriand, which is, of course, a full roasted beef tenderloin. Again, you get all the different, all the different temperatures in one big piece of meat. So if you like it rare, you get the center cut. If you're more well done, you get the end cuts. But again, all in one piece, okay? So those are some things that I do. Now, the other thing that I love is a ham. I love ham. I could eat pork for every meal. I literally have pig tattooed on me because it's my favorite food group. So if you like ham, guess what? You can make ham with this dry brine as well. It'll just enhance the flavor, and you don't even have to do it overnight. You could just add it right before you throw it in the oven. So once you have your menu planned, you've got your foods, right? Your appetizers, you got your soup and salad situation worked out. You've got your main course decided on. Now we're going to talk about side dishes. Obviously, you already know one of my favorite side dishes is the green bean casserole. I love it. I don't know why, but I just do. The other one that I live for, and which is fabulous, and you can make it any time, is of course mashed potatoes. And I love stuffing. And oh gosh, what else do I love? Cheese beans, which are something else that my family used to do. Which why do we need so many green beans on one table? I don't know, but I never ever thought about it. But cheese beans was like a green beans with French style green beans, so the really thin, skinny ones with this cheese sauce on it. Oh, to die for. So pick your favorite side dishes and you put them on the list, all right? And then we move to dessert, and you can do whatever you want. Is the limit when we cook at home, y'all. That means we are in control of every single element. So for me, I love an apple pie. I'm not really a big fan of pumpkin pie. If I'm going to go cinnamon, I'm always going to choose apple over pumpkin. But you could do a chocolate torte. You could do cupcakes. You could do cookies, whatever floats your boat. Just make sure you get it on the list, okay? Now, once you have your menu written, this is now when you want to start thinking about writing the recipes to go along with those side dishes, those main courses. And if you have recipes already on hand for them, your job just got easier. If you're like me and you like to just cook by instinct or create your own recipes, this is the time to get those together. And the reason for that is so that you can construct your shopping list from those recipes, guys. All right. It's extremely important that you stay very, very organized when you get to the grocery store. They're going to be busy, full of people. They're going to be out of stuff. So you got to make sure you have a plan. Okay. So I love to start produce, because when you walk into the grocery store, where do you walk into? 90% of the time, you walk directly into the produce section. All right. So that's always going to be the first thing on my list. I shop the way the store lays it out for me, y'all. That way I'm not zigzagging back and forth, going back and forth between things and trying to find things. I have a plan. So start with produce, and I list every single piece of produce, and that includes everything that's in the produce section. So even if it's not necessarily what I would call produce, it would have things like nuts, right? You can get your walnuts, your bulk nuts and stuff like that in there. You can get any seasoning toppings for salads. You can get your mushrooms, your dried items like dried mushrooms, candied ginger, all those little things. So don't forget about all those things that you can get in the produce section, not produce, okay? So that's the first section. Second section I go to is dry goods because that is always going to be the biggest bulk of what we buy, right? And essentially, those things can be purchased well ahead of time, which brings me to my next tip. So plan your menu, order your turkey if you're going to get one. Make sure you order it this week if you're ordering it from someplace. Any special ingredients that you might need based on your menu, specialty items, those things, get those things ordered or shop for them now so that you're not scrambling to get them towards the end. And then don't forget to take inventory of what you already have, guys. This is a very big chef pro tip, y'all, because what you don't want to do is second guess yourself at the grocery store or buy things that you don't need because you're going to be spending money on all kinds of things. Save it for the things you do need. So if you start with an inventory, you will end up only getting what you need, and that's going to save you time and money. So inventory does not only include food supplies, but also cooking supplies and storage. One of the biggest areas of opportunity that I find I give advice for every single year is, guys, make sure you have a place and stuff to store things in. All right. This is the best week to buy that stuff. So your foil, your plastic wrap, your baggies, any containers, and then any cooking equipment that you think you might need. And if you need an extra cooler or something, maybe you can borrow one from somebody or purchase one that you can have one for next year, because a cooler is a great way to store a lot of cold stuff, especially right outside your back door, because it's going to hopefully be cool enough by then that it'll keep it nice and cool for you. All right. Next one is we want to make sure that we know what size turkey to buy. Now, there's a lot of information out there, guys, and one of the resources that I really would love to push you towards is America's Test Kitchen. Now, America's Test Kitchen does require you to pay a membership fee to utilize their website the way that it's designed. But all of their books are out there. You can get them. Hey, guess where you can get them, Magda?
At the library.
That's right. So don't be afraid to get online and check it out, y'all, because they have so much great information about how to stock your kitchen with ingredients and supplies, when to buy, how to buy, all that stuff. And then, of course, recipes. So I really did do a lot of research for this, and they were my favorite resource. All right. So keep that in mind, America's Test Kitchen. According to them, they say that for 10 to 12 people, you want a turkey that's about 12 to 15 pounds, right? So if you think about that in terms of how much each person is going to eat, it's about a pound and a quarter. Okay. And you always figure there's going to be at least a couple of people who don't eat the turkey at all, which is great because that's why you make extra sides. But according to their website, 10 to 12 people, 15-pound turkey. Okay. For 15 to 18 people, you're looking at about a 14 to 16-pound turkey. And then for 18 to 22 people, you're looking at a 20 to 22-pound turkey. But that, you guys, I really want to talk about for just a second. A 20-pound turkey, y'all, is a big bird, okay? It requires a huge roasting pan, and it requires a large oven that will contain only the turkey for several hours, which means that any side dishes or desserts or anything like that that you need to bake off. Sorry, let me turn my thing off here. I just got a notification. Didn't realize I did that on. So if you have a large turkey, it's going to take up all the space in your oven for several hours. So consider this as an option, y'all. Breaking down the turkey or buying turkey parts. So you could have one turkey that's about 10 to 12 pounds, right? We've already discussed that that'll feed about 10 to 12 people. So that's half your people with just that one turkey. Now, if you buy some drumsticks, some thighs, some turkey breasts, bits and pieces, or even have your butcher break down another whole turkey for you, now you can roast those pieces off, and they're going to cook so much faster, and you're going to be able to have so much more service at a quicker state than sitting up there trying to carve a 20-pound turkey that took 6.5 hours to cook. All right. And then don't forget that these can equal one as well. So if you wanted to get two smaller turkeys, that would always be a great option too. But never, ever be afraid to roast turkey parts separately, y'all. Number one, they're going to cook. Excuse me. Number one, they're going to cook faster, but also going to yield jus for the gravy. So I like that idea. Make sure you think about that when you're considering your menu and how much turkey you need and how many people you're going to feed. All right. That's my 2 cents on a big turkey. I've cooked thousands of turkeys, you guys. And I can tell you that the bigger the turkey, the more work, the harder it is to control, all of that. So I really do encourage you to try doing the turkey part. Now, the other thing you want to make sure you're doing in your inventory, okay, is checking for your spices. Always checking for dates on your spices to make sure there's nothing expired. Tip on spices, guys. All right. This ledge that is on the back of my stove here, okay, gets very hot. This is not where you want to store your spices, okay? Heat and light will destroy your spices and deteriorate their smell and taste before anything else, okay? And moisture will also start to collect in them. And once moisture has started to collect in your spices, they will really fade quickly and they will start to clump. So keep your spices in a cabinet, all right, to the left or the right of your stovetop so it's easily accessible for your cooking. But do not keep them on the top of your stovetop. If you have, that's where you currently keep them, go ahead and just grab your trash can and shove them all in there and start with new ones. Right now, pretty much they're all on sale. And you'll have nice, fresh herbs and spices to start with that will have full flavor, no moisture, and hopefully no clumps. Okay. All right. Now, next week is going to be the time where you're going to want to start to stock up on your non-perishable items. So anything that can go into the freezer. All right. And if you're not going to make pie crust, which why would you these days? There's so many great products out there. Buy it now while it's still at the grocery store and get it in your freezer. All right. If you're going to make your pie crust, make sure you get that made next week. Get it shaped into discs, not into balls, so that it's easier to roll out. And then if you wanted to, guys, you can even go ahead and roll it out into the size and shape of your pie, layer it with parchment in between, and then put them into a large baggie or plastic wrap and put them in your freezer so that they are flat, ready to go. You just have to pull out that frozen pie crust, let it sit out at room temperature for about 30 minutes, and then lay it on top of your pie plate, and you're ready to go. So things like that can really speed up the process for the go time of Thanksgiving. And make sure you have plenty of room in your freezer. If there's anything in there that you don't need, cook it or get it out, all right? And then you want to make sure that if you're going to make dinner rolls, guess what, guys? Next week is a really great time to make your dinner rolls because you could par bake them, which means about 50%. So if your recipe says, hey, let's bake them for 40 minutes, you only need to bake them for 20. Then you're going to let them cool completely. You're going to wrap them in plastic wrap and then wrap them in foil. And then you're going to freeze them. When you are ready to serve them, you're going to take them out of the foil and the plastic wrap, and you're going to pop them back in the oven and finish the baking just as if they were never frozen. All right. Works like a charm. And again, a huge time saver. All right. Last couple of things before we actually get to cooking here. But essentially, you want to make 3 shopping lists. Okay. You want to have one that is your shelf stable list. Again, we talked about like your dry ingredients. So anything that's not going to go bad between now and Thanksgiving, go ahead and get that shopping list going and heck, get out there and get it done. All right. And then you want to have your non-perishables. Your non-perishables would be like butter, flour, your plastic wrap, your foil, your storage containers, all of that kind of stuff. All right. And then your last list that you'll shop from will be your fresh ingredients. All of your produce, all of your proteins, all of your dairy, and anything else that has a short shelf or refrigerator life. Okay. And then finally, you want to make sure that you have, enough of everything in house before you start cooking. And that will just ensure that you don't have to take a break in the middle of things and run to the store to finish something up. So, inventory, okay, menu, create your lists, and then stick to them. And get on the internet and check out your local library so that you can check out those America's Test Kitchen books. Or if you're already a member, get on there. Or there's other websites as well that you can get on and get that countdown to success. All right. So before I move on, do we have any questions about the timeline? I'm going to go through it some more stuff at the end, but I want to start cooking. So do we have anything to discuss before we move on?
No, as you are cooking, I just want to comment. I also love the green beans. It's my favorite recipe. And I also make whatever you are making, like my own. I either make,
Yes.
but you know what? I use the frozen mushrooms from Trader Joe's.
Oh, yeah. What a great
Only
time saver.
yeah, they have like they are amazing. They are except only bad thing is it has sunflower oil in it, and I'm not crazy
Oh,
about sunflower oil.
yeah. But that
So
helps to keep them from sticking together and all the
yeah,
things
yeah,
in
yeah,
the
yeah.
but that's a great time saving tip. Thank you, Magda,
Uh-huh.
because I love Trader Joe's for exactly that reason. They have so many things that will save you time. And honestly, at this time of year, they have some really cool things. So yeah, get out there and
Yeah, yeah,
shop
yeah.
TJ's. I couldn't
And
agree with you more.
talking about pies, New York Times had few years ago cranberry custard, and you can Google it or I will send you a link. It's a it was a hit of every party because it has this cranberry purple color and everybody
That's amazing.
yeah. And then another pie, it's from some sort of a Pioneer Woman website or something. It's the purple potato pie. You know those purple,
Yes.
I forgot how they are called. It's some sort of a
The Yubas.
I think it has a different name too, or uh, so anyway, I will send it to you, and it has another purple, different type of purple, and it's like it's a total hit, you know.
That's fabulous. That's what I'm talking about. Taking something as simple as a sweet potato pie and using a purple yam instead.
Yeah,
And that's wonderful. I love that. And I'm very interested in that cranberry custard. I have
yeah.
a couple
I
of
will send
different,
it to you.
thank you. I have a couple of different Christmas things that are coming up. Um, that might be just what I'm looking for.
Uh-huh. And you know,
uh,
we might do not report me to the authorities, but my husband and I we do not like turkey, and we just like the dark meat. And during COVID years, when we were alone, it's like, heck, let's just buy dark meat and whatever. So we just made dark meat, and
that's what
since we
I'm
are
saying.
alone, we just buy a duck. For
Oh,
Christmas or Thanksgiving,
I love that.
we made duck. Yeah. Aldi's
Duck
has
is
ducks.
amazing.
Have you
Yes.
ever found duck in Aldi's? They sell out right away.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Every time.
And yeah,
That's great. Oh, okay, guys. I hope you're taking notes because Magda is a wealth of knowledge and she always has great tips. I love all of those and I will take all those recipes. Thank you very much.
thank
Oh,
you.
so good. Okay, so we are going to get started on this green bean casserole because I want to get it into the oven before time is up. So, what we're going to start with is some butter. All right, I'm going to turn my burner on to about medium high, a little over medium. We're going to let that butter get melty. And pro tip here, guys, when cooking with butter, it burns at 350 degrees. Okay. So what that means is when we start the pan, we're going to put the butter in the cold pan and we're going to let that butter melt out gently so that we don't throw butter into a hot pan and then it starts to burn and sizzle immediately before the middle even gets melted. Because once you've burnt butter, you really kind of have to start over. Different than brown butter. Brown butter is amazing. Burnt butter, just like anything else that's burnt, is going to pretty much ruin your dish. So by letting the butter melt out gently in my pan, I can absolutely control the temperature in the pan and control how fast or slow my butter is going to melt. Also, how cute is this spatula? I just got these and I love
Mm-hmm.
them. So we have tip for that, but we're going to get to that in a minute. In the meantime, I've got some cremini mushrooms. Now, here you guys, little information for you. Cremini and white mushrooms are the exact same mushroom, okay? They are the exact same strain. You just have one that's brown and one that's white. These are actually not baby portobellos, all right? So a lot of the packaging will say, hey, these are baby bellas, but they're just cremini mushrooms, which are exactly like white mushrooms, but they have a little bit of a deeper, richer flavor. And of course, they have that great color. But they're interchangeable when it comes to this recipe. So don't feel like if you can't find these, what am I going to do? Just buy the white one. All right.
Do you
Now,
peel them? Do you peel them?
I don't because I like the color contrast. But if you do want to peel them, you can absolutely take a paring knife and you'll just start on the end. You can peel them away. And if you want to
So
get
the skin
really
is
fancy,
edible because I
oh, yeah.
always peel them. Maybe
No,
they
oh,
it,
no. On a cremini, they're absolutely edible. But if you
because
wanted to, you
yeah,
could make them pretty.
yeah. No, I peel them, but the most vitamins in potatoes is in the skin, so maybe it's with the mushrooms
Same
too.
thing. Yes, same thing. There are some mushrooms out there that have not so much inedible, but they have like a tougher skin and a tougher stem. And so you don't want to eat those. But I think if you just learn your mushrooms, you'll learn really quickly that they're 90% of it is all edible. Shiitakes, I always take the stem out of a shiitake mushroom. I feel like those are really woody. But these creminis, I also took the stem out, but that was basically because I wanted them to be very uniform when I cut them up. All right. So I've got garlic in here, y'all. And instantly my kitchen smells amazing. So I'm just going to brown that garlic lightly in my butter, which is now beautifully melted and just barely bubbling. And then we're going to take our cremini mushrooms that I have already chopped. And we are going to cook these in the butter and garlic for just a few minutes. Now, remember that this dish, guys, goes into the oven. So if we overcook things in the skillet at this point, you're going to have some mushy stuff coming out of the oven. And I don't want anything mushy. All right. Okay. This is full disclosure. I cannot stand eat mushrooms. I love the flavor of mushrooms. I love the smell of mushrooms, but I cannot stand to bite into one. It's a texture thing. So that is one of the reasons why I cut my mushrooms larger because my husband loves them. I don't. So how do I cut them? After I clean them, which of course I use a nice clean kitchen towel that's just got a very little bit of moisture to it, wipe it off. You can use a mushroom brush, paper towel, whatever. I cut them in half and then across the top. And then I lay them so that I have a flat surface now to cut with. And then I just cut them into fine pieces. But they are big enough that I can eat around them in the dish. And I don't have to pick them out or be that 4-year-old. I don't like mushrooms. I like what they do to the dish. I just don't want to bite into them. So if you like them smaller, you can cut them smaller. You can cut them bigger. You can leave them whole. You can leave them out. You can use celery instead. You could use tomato instead. You can really do anything that's got that kind of umami flavor. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're going to add to this to make this a cream sauce. We now need to make a roux. All right. So there's very little fat in here. I'm actually going to add a little bit more butter to my pan because those mushrooms kind of soaked it up, which is great. But I need just a little bit more. So I'm going to add 1 more tablespoon of butter to my pan so that my flour will have something to stick to for my roux. So I'm going to add my flour. I added 1 tablespoon of butter. So I'm going to add about 2 tablespoons of flour because I already had 1 tablespoon in there, right? And then we're going to stir this all together, including the mushrooms. I'm being gentle because I don't want to smash those mushrooms up too much. That's for my benefit. And what we're doing now is we are cooking the roux. All right. Roux, R-O-U-X. It's French term for, well, actually street or route. But in this application, it's what's going to thicken our sauce. Okay. So we're going to let that flour cook because if we don't cook the flour, you guys, then guess what? Our sauce will taste like flour, not like delicious, flavorful, and umami because we've got all that good stuff in there. So by cooking the flour for just a few minutes, all right, we're going to deepen the color of the roux, which will give the sauce better color. And we're also going to cook out that flour flavor. All right, so it doesn't taste raw. Now, I'm just making a quick chicken broth. You can buy it in a box if you like. Actually, let me show that to you. What do I do with it? No, there it is. This is my Knorr caldo de pollo, okay? Knorr bouillon is made in Mexico, and in a Mexican household like mine, it is used in everything because I love the flavor of it. It is very bold. If you like better than bouillon, use better than bouillon. If you want to use stock in a box, go for it. But what we're going to do now is we're going to add this chicken broth to the mushrooms. And remember, we cooked the flour. So that flour, once it starts to mix with the liquid and then the heat starts to build, science comes into play. And now that roux okay, basically a mushroom gravy. And in the meantime, I am using my spoonula here to really scrape the bottom of my pan to get all that fond off the bottom of the pan because the fond, which are all the good bits and bobbles that get stuck there while you're browning, that's all Flavor Town, guys. And we want all of that to come up and get into the sauce. So we're going to scrape that up gently. And now we're going to let this sit for just a minute while enough heat can build up that it starts to simmer. And that simmering is going to be what's going to thicken that sauce. And then I've got some heavy cream here. They have a lot of plant-based heavy creams nowadays, guys. If you don't want to go with the traditional I just cannot not knock that over. Um,
So
but
the so
I'm the
if you
fat kind of cream.
so if you use the non-milk milk, it
Yep.
doesn't curdle or anything, or doesn't anything weird.
There, don't use milk. It has to be the plant-based cream.
Cream,
Okay.
cream, yeah, yeah,
Yes, because the milk will not do it. It's
yeah,
not
yeah,
the
yeah. Got
plant-based
it.
milk doesn't have enough fat in it. Um,
Okay.
and
I
and
like
you
I for cooking I use coconut cream.
I would not use that in this just simply because
Well, not
you can
not in
taste it.
this, but yeah,
Okay, yeah,
I
yeah.
use cream in this. But I
Yes.
like coconut cream
Coconut cream is wonderful. And I use
for
that in it.
curries and things.
Yes, and also for lots of dessert.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I find that in a dish like this, as you probably well know, Magda, that coconut flavor will take over. And I don't want my green bean casserole to taste like
Yeah, yeah,
coconut.
yeah,
Yeah,
definitely. No, no,
yeah.
not in this dish.
But they have heavy whipping cream that is plant based, and at the Hy-Vee that I was just at here in town at 75th and State Line, they had two different kinds, and they were only $2.99. I paid $4.69 for this one, so the plant based is considerably cheaper. But the plant based does what it needs to do because it actually has that creamy texture. It's a little bit thicker, and it will whip if you decide to whip it, and it will thicken if you use it as a thickener. And the great thing about heavy cream, guys, is let's say you have a gluten free family, and you can make this without the roux because heavy cream will reduce very, very nicely in this dish. So you can actually leave the roux out and add your um, chicken broth. I would probably cut that back just a little bit and then add your cream and let it simmer, and it'll reduce down to a nice thick sauce for you. So I like the structure of the roux, and this is a traditional way of making it. So that is why I've chosen to do it today.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is starting to get there. I'm going to turn up the temperature a little bit because I do want to start getting some nice simmering bubbles going here. Now, let's talk about green beans while we are waiting on the sauce. If you like cut green beans, use cut green beans. If you like French style green beans, use French style green beans. I think you get what I'm saying here. When you're in charge, you get to choose what you're going to use. I like the long green beans. This is, to me, looks a little fancier, especially when you go to dish it out. But what I want you to see here is that they have been blanched. Okay. So blanching means you're going to boil these for about 30 to 60 seconds until they turn bright green. Once they turn bright green, you're going to take them out of the boiling water and you're going to put them directly into a cold water bath. All right. So cold water with ice in it. All those hot beans are going to go right into that. And why are we doing that? Because we want to stop the cooking process at that point. Two reasons. One, because if we go too far in the blanching slash boiling process and then they go into the oven, they're just going to get mushy, guys. Okay. Really mushy. And I'm not about them. That's why we have mashed potatoes on the table. If you want mush, okay. Green beans should have a little bit of a, still should have a little bit of a crunch to it, just like a tiny one. Like, oh, it's a fresh green bean, right? So that's one reason. The number two reason is because when a vegetable is at its brightest color, it is at its highest nutritional value. So by stopping the process at this peak nutritional value, they're not going to get overcooked in the oven, and they're also not going to leak out all of their nutrition into the boiling water. Okay, which is great because that's why we eat green beans, right? They're good for us. So this is starting to thicken up, and how do we know it's thickening? I'm going to show you guys one of the easiest ways to identify when a sauce is ready. We're going to do the spoon test. Okay, so we're going to take the back of your regular kitchen spoon, and then if it sticks to the back of your spoon, you know you're doing good. But better yet, if you can do that and it doesn't run, then you know it's ready. All right. So, God, that's already so good. I haven't even seasoned it yet, and that's really delicious because of that bouillon, I'm telling you. So, this is starting to cook down really nicely. I want to lift the pan just a little bit so you guys can kind of see how it coats the bottom of the pan, right? Same thing as the spoon. So now we're going to take our heavy cream. We are going to add that in. We're going to take our fresh thyme, and I've already pulled these little leaves off of the stems. Alternately, if you want to, and you can remember, you can actually just take your whole thyme stem and you can put it in the sauce like that, but you have to remember to take the stem out before you serve it. And actually, before it goes into the oven. The leaves will fall off the stem, but you don't want that stem to be hanging out in there when you go to serve it, or somebody's going to be like, what's this? And that's unpleasant. Oh my God, you guys, this smells so good. That thyme hits and it instantly goes from being just your everyday average cream of mushroom situation to a very French and fancy one. And if you have any sherry at this point, this is a pro. Uh-oh, I gotta find it. I forgot I moved it. Hang on. Where's it at now? Well, we'll just skip that for this time. But I do. Oh wait, maybe it's in here. I just redid all my cabinets, and now I don't know what I did with it. So don't worry about it. But if you have some sherry, some dry sherry, now would be the time to add it while your sauce is boiling. Sherry and mushrooms go together very, very well. And it wouldn't take a lot, tablespoon, but you want to make sure that while it's boiling and simmering like this, that's when you want to add that so that all the alcohol cooks out. Okay. So we're going to season this up with some salt, remembering that that bouillon was pretty salty to begin with. Some black pepper.
Did you get the new black pepper? You did?
I did, and my friend Lisa got it for me because I think you guys have probably heard me already say my hands are really bad. I have really bad arthritis in them, and doing a pepper grinder is almost impossible for me these days. So now all I have to do is this.
Oh, really?
How cool
Wow.
is that? It's electric, so it runs on batteries, and it works great. I love it. And actually, they have at Aldi next week or this week, one of the two. They're on the ad. I saw them. Electric pepper,
So,
salt and pepper
also
shakers.
it's from all this, the pepper thingy.
No, this one was a gift from a friend of mine. She ordered them from Amazon. It came with two, and I don't put salt in mine because I like salt in my little bowls. But I have like the mixed pepper in this one and the black pepper in this one. They're great.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
Yeah, if you have any issues with your hands, or heck, just want to make life easier,
Yeah.
they are a wonderful, wonderful option. Okay, so this is looking pretty good. And once again, I want to grab my spoon here and I want to see what it looks like. There. See, guys, you can really, really see that now that there's some color on it. And you can see I can go straight across that spoon and it doesn't drip down. So that means that it is really nicely done. You don't want it to be too thick at this point or it'll get overly thick in the oven, right? Now I have used this particular cast iron skillet pot thing today because it can go into the oven, which I have on at 425 degrees. So now that my beans are relatively dry, you can still see, you know what? I don't want all that water in there. Pro tip, guys, get ready. Salad spinner. This thing works for so many things, guys. I One of my favorites is hand cut French fries. When I make hand cut French fries, I soak them in water so that it leaches out all of the starch and they don't turn too dark in the fryer. And you don't ever want to put anything wet into your hot oil. So I throw those French fries in here after I've dried them out, just like these beans.
Well,
And
that's another idea, sidebar. That's another idea for a class is French fries because there are so many techniques,
I would
you
love
know,
that. I would
because you are
love
supposed
that.
to like, I don't know, like cook them first or bake them first. And, there are so many strategies for perfect fries.
True. It's true, Magda. I think we should
Yeah.
put that one on the list.
Yeah. Let's do a French fries class.
All right. So I want to make sure that when I put my lid in here, it doesn't crush them. So I just made a little room. All right. And then I'm just going to use my salad spinner as you would a lettuce. And that is going to just get all that extra moisture
Mm-hmm.
off those beans for me, which will be great because I don't want that extra moisture in my sauce. The sauce
Mm-hmm.
is absolutely perfect right now. And if I add these beans while they're still super wet, it's going to actually dull the seasoning that I have in there and it's going to make it less flavorful. Um, and I wouldn't know that, of course, until after it comes out of the oven. And you're going to be like, wow, this needs salt. And you'll be like, well, it's because I put wet beans in there. So make sure your beans are not wet. If you do not have a salad spinner, I highly recommend you get one because, again, a million things you can use it for. But also, if you don't have a salad spinner, then you can just use paper towels, but make sure you get them nice and dry. All right. So, what we're looking for now, a little bit of moisture. So, we want to go ahead, dump that. Let's do it one. Whoa, let's do it one more time, and then I'll be
So
happy.
as you are salad spinning, what else do you do with salad spinner besides put the French fries, French beans, and
Yeah.
salads?
Well, literally anything that's wet. Okay. So, like, if let's say, I needed to grill something, and I don't want it to be wet. Boom, and it goes into the salad spinner. It could be vegetables. It could be. I don't put proteins in here just because I don't want to have that cross contamination. But it could be just about anything. My goodness. All right. So I'm going to be happy with this now. Okay. Once again, moisture coming out. I feel good about that. But look at all that moisture that just came off. Okay. So even when you think you have them dry, give them some more. Now we're going to take these beans into this sauce. I just got really excited. Really, really excited. Now, you may be asking, why aren't you just pouring those beans into this? Well, because again, I'm trying to control moisture. And if there's still any moisture on the bottom of that basket, I don't want it to end up in my sauce. So I'm just going to use lefty and righty to get them out of there. Okay. Ensuring success. Now, get that out of there. Thank you for doing such a lovely job. We are now going to coat. If you wanted to add else to this dish, now is the time. And I'm going to show you one more surprise ingredient that I love because I'm very shishy. And it also is a nod to my grandma who made those cheese beans years ago. She used Velveeta. I will not be doing that. Although Velveeta has its place, okay? Instead, I will be using this is one of my favorite things ever. Boursin cheese. So bright. Boursin cheese. This one is, hang on, there. Rose, caramelized onions and herb. Ooh,
Where do you
okay.
get these?
So these I got at I think I got these at the uh but you any good grocery store, including Aldi, has Boursin on hand. And if they don't have Boursin, you can use the Alouette. Alouette is great. It's basically the same thing. They're Gournay. Now, Gournay, okay, is actually a man's name. He invented this way of creating cheese.
Mm.
And it is spreadable, it is meltable, it is just perfect, just the way it is, straight from the package.
Well, it's a Carrie just commented how they have 3 packs at Costco. Yeah, I forgot about it.
Oh, that's
Thank you
right.
so much.
Yes, Costco has the 3 packs. They do the garlic and herb and the chive and onion, I believe,
Mhm.
is the one
Is this
that.
goat cheese? Is it goat cheese?
So it has a goat cheese texture, but it is not made with goat cheese,
Mm-hmm.
with goat's milk, I should say. So this is nice and creamy. And again, I'm not expecting all of that cheese to get perfectly melted at this time. And this pot is pretty full, which is what I wanted today because
Mm-hmm.
I'm devouring this as soon as it comes out of the oven. I'm just not even going to lie to you. Okay, so that looks great. Thing is happy. I need to just make sure. And as promised, the green beans have just a little bit of crunch to them, which is perfect because when they come out of the oven, they're going to be so good. Now, as I said earlier, once I added my green beans, I need to adjust my salt. And I definitely need to adjust the salt. And anytime I adjust the salt, I'm going to adjust my pepper because they are best friends and they like to hang out together. And also, I just really like using my electric grinder. Okay, so let's just get that mixed in one more time, and then I'm going to show you my topping, which is probably the best part of the whole dish. And that's really saying something because this filling is downright delicious. Okay, so, and you guys saw how easy that was, right? It came together very, very quickly, took almost no time at all. So, what we're going to do in my skillet here, I have some panko breadcrumbs that I have toasted. Why do I toast them? Because they are actually not going to be in there long enough, in the oven long enough to really get dark. And I want to make sure that they have some good color to them. I'm going to take a bowl here and I'm going to take my crispy fried onions. Yes, all of them, now that I'm looking at it. And I'm going to take a little bit of melted butter. Oh, my sourdough starters are in there. That's another class we can do. Anybody like to do sourdough out there?
Yeah.
Dog's out there barking, saying, Mom, I'm ready to come in now.
We cannot hear him.
Okay, good. Oh, no, can I just let him in real quick? Do you mind?
Of course.
I don't want. Oh, he took off again. Never mind. He loves a squirrel. All right, I'm just going to take a little bit of melted butter. We're going to toss it into that skillet. We're going to toss it into these fried onions. And then we're going to take those panko breadcrumbs and toss them together so that they get even crispier.
So Carrie is saying she wants to have a class on sourdough and French fry class. You know, Carrie, we have some other classes we recorded sauces and proteins. I will give you here my email address. And if you email me, I will send you the classes.
Yeah, we've had some fun, haven't we?
Mm-hmm.
Some good stuff. All right, so the butter is going in there just to make sure that that the panko has something to stick to. Okay, we don't need to do egg and all that jazz. We don't want them to be onion rings, or maybe you do. In fact, you guys, Trader Joe's, since we were talking about them earlier, has some French fried onions that are just ridiculously good. and they're more of a snack than they are a topping. Okay, so what I want you to see here is the crunch factor. Okay, that is going to make for a very crunchy topping. All right, I'm going to let this poor boy in. Come on. The other one's under the bed where she likes to hang out while I'm doing these because she's like, who are you talking to? Why can I not see them? All right, these look amazing. And again, no pouring or you're going to end up getting just crumblies. And we want to make sure that we have all the pieces of onion. And when you pour, you don't have as much control as you do when you use your hands. All right, so now this guy's going to go into the oven. But before I send him into the oven, I just want you guys to get a really good look at him because he's gorgeous. And of course, if you want, you could add kind of seasoning topping to this at this point. If you're an everything bagel kind of seasoning person, boom, on it goes. Pretty much whatever you want. I'm just going to add a tiny bit more salt and pepper to mine just to make sure everybody is seasoned. And then look at that, y'all. Let me bring it a little closer so you can really appreciate it. Oh, the whole face is going to fit in there later. All right, so I got my oven on at 425. It's a high, quick cook because, guys, everything in there is cooked, right? So all we're doing is bringing it all together so that it's one cohesive dish. So going to go about 20, maybe 30 minutes, but I'm going to start at 20. But you guys, it's not going to look any different than it does right now, except it'll be a little bit bubbly, okay? Now, what questions do we have on that before I show you guys the dry brine, which will just take a quick 2 minutes?
No questions.
Okay. So, for the dry brine, while these ingredients for my specific brine are important to me, what the most important thing is how you use the brine, okay? So, we're going to start with salt, kosher salt. Kosher salt gets its name not because it is good for Passover, which it is, it says right there on the box, but it is also kosher salt because the act of koshering is where you use salt to draw the moisture out of the protein or a produce. All right, that is called koshering. That's where kosher salt gets its name. So we are actually going to do exactly that.
And it also doesn't have any anti-caking agents, correct?
Yes, thank you. I do not buy salt with iodide in it. All right. Iodide is something that they added during the Great Depression. It was very necessary at the time because people were undernourished and they were like goiters from not having enough iodide in their system. But nowadays we don't have to have that specific iodide because we get it in so many other ways naturally now, like fresh tomatoes and things like that. So it also contains dextrose, and dextrose contains gluten and sugar. I don't need either of those things in my salt, and especially when you don't know you're getting it. So I do not buy salt with iodide in it, and it does not have any caking agents in it. Works very well for me. I like a coarse salt, and that's what I cook with. All right. So I've got a cup of kosher salt in there. I have 1 teaspoon of dried thyme, 1 teaspoon of dried rosemary. We're going to use 1 teaspoon of dry or rubbed sage, as they call it. And yes, I am measuring it in my hand because I know what a teaspoon looks like. But if you need a measuring spoon, then please feel free to use one. We are going to use dried tarragon. One of my favorite flavors. Has a licoricey flavor. And for those of you who think you don't like licorice, I hate black licorice, but I love tarragon. And tarragon on fabulous. All right. Dried mustard, same thing. That dried mustard is going to add a little bit of a tang, a little bit of acidity. Okay. So in goes the dried mustard. And then some dried lemon peel. It's actually a seasoning blend that contains dried lemon and orange peel in it. You can get lemon peel at any really good grocery store. If you're in town, Hen House, Whole Foods, and then Penzeys. Penzeys is a great place to go for that kind of stuff. And then I've got some red pepper flakes. Now, the pepper flakes, I like a little bit of heat. It is not that I'm trying to make my turkey spicy. All right. It is simply that when you're talking about a balanced flavor profile, you want to have your salt. You want to have your acid, which is the mustard in this case. You want to have your fat, which will actually be the turkey, right? The protein will have the fat in it. And then you want to have your heat, which is, of course, going to be the dried chili flakes. So at this point, I'm just going to toss this all together. Now, this is ready, okay? I've got a container with a tight fitting lid, and that is because this is week 1 of November, guys. It is way too early to use this brine, but putting it in an airtight container with a lid, this guy is now going to become best friends with each other. Everybody inside is going to get married and have a super fun time. And all of the flavors are going to meld, and you're going to get a much better tasting dry brine from this, okay, by doing it ahead of time. Now, if you have a jar to keep this in, you can keep it on your countertop. But light, as we talked about earlier, can cause some problems because the light can end up heating this, causing condensation to build up inside. So I definitely advise you to keep this in a cupboard, okay? Not over your stove, but in a cupboard with your the door closed so that no air, moisture or air or anything can get into it. And then this dry brine will be perfect. Now, how to use the dry brine. This is the last thing we're going to talk about, Magda, before I hit up just a couple more tips. Are we doing okay? I know we're
Yes,
really
yes.
getting there.
Not
Okay.
fine. We're fine.
Okay. When you use the dry brine, here's the part that I love about using a dry brine. When you are using a wet brine, you have to have a vessel that is large enough for your turkey to fit in with the brine in it, and you have to change that brine out at least twice, okay? Because it's like sitting in its own goo, and you don't want that. So you have to change that brine out at least twice before you're ready to actually cook the turkey. And you have to have some place to keep that huge vessel and brine in it.
Mm-hmm.
If you've got a small refrigerator, that makes it very difficult to hold all the other stuff as well. So by dry brining, you need a roasting pan, turkey. That's it. Okay. And what you will do is the night before, probably around, if you're planning on roasting off your turkey in the morning so that it's ready by lunch, then you want to do this around 10 o'clock at night. If you're going to have your turkey for dinner that evening, then you want to do this around 8 o'clock in the morning. All right. You want about 8 hours, 8 to 12 hours of brining time. All right. Anything over than that, and then you're looking at having to rinse and do all this stuff, and we don't want that. So 8 to 12 hours of dry brining. Once you've got your dry brine made and it's had a couple of days at least to set up and get all friendly with each other, then what you're going to do is you're going to take your turkey and you're going to unwrap it completely. You're going to leave it out at room temperature for an hour. Does that make you guys nervous? It should not, because you have 4 hours at room temperature before bacteria starts to grow in protein. All right. So 1 hour, not going to hurt it. Probably will still be ice cold in the center, honestly. But what that hour is going to do is it's going to help to dry out the outside of your turkey. That's going to be pretty important when you're adding your dry brine, because what you don't want is a whole bunch of moisture on there creating a paste. All right. So once that hour is up, you're going to take your paper towels, and paper towels are a must in this situation because you do not want to keep them. You do not want to have to wash a towel that you have just blotted the turkey with. So you're going to take your paper towels and you're going to pat that turkey dry all the way around the outside of it. Okay. And don't worry about the cavity because we're not brining the cavity. We're only brining the outside of the bird. And the reason for that is because we are now going to use reverse osmosis in that turkey. So when I told you about kosher salt, I told you that kosher salt is placed on a piece of protein or produce to draw the moisture out. All right. So, like back in the Viking days, they used to use salt to preserve fish, tons of fish. They would pack it in salt, it would dry it out and become almost jerky like. And then they were able to travel, take that fish with them, and it was shelf stable. Okay. We don't want this turkey to turn into jerky, but we do want to give this an opportunity to science. So once we have the turkey pretty well dried off, and it doesn't have to be perfectly dry because you do want this to be able to stick to it, right? But we just don't want it to be wet. Then you're going to take your dry brine and you're going to start rubbing it all over the turkey. And you want it to be in between the skin and on top of the skin. All right. All of those things. And get it really rubbed in well so that you can see it on all the parts, in the crevices, in between the thighs and the drumsticks, underneath where it's going to sit, in between the legs and the breasts, all of that. Every you want to make sure that dry brine is on. Then that's going to go in your roasting pan, right? And it's going to sit on the roasting rack so that it's not sitting directly on the bottom of the pan. What's going to happen next is crazy because within about the first hour, you're going to start to see all of this moisture pooling on the outside of your turkey. And that's because the kosher salt is going to be pulling that moisture out. And you're going to be like, oh no, it's taking the moisture out of my turkey. But then within a couple of hours, that moisture is going to start coming back into the turkey and it's going to start sucking in all the additional moisture that it sent out in it and all that flavor that we put into your dry brine. So at the end of that 8 to 12 hours of brining, literally all you have to do is wipe off any extra brine that's still on there. You're going to lift that turkey out of the pan and you're going to dump all of the moisture that has collected in the bottom of that pan. All right. You don't want it. So get rid of it. And then you're going to have a nice clean roasting pan, put your turkey back in. And then the last thing I want to tell you before you cook your turkey, if you are into really, really crispy skin, then this last step is easy, but it's going to make all the difference in the world. And that is where you're going to use baking soda. So you've wiped off the brine, okay? You are then going to whatever you're going to season your turkey with, all right? The last thing you're going to do is take baking soda and sprinkle it all over the top and the sides and the legs and the neck, everything, just like you did the brine. You don't want it to look like snow, okay? You don't need it to be a thick coating, but you want to coat the outside of the bird in the baking soda and it'll start to absorb and that's totally fine. But that baking soda is going to give you extra crispy skin. And then once it comes out of the oven, oh, forgot one of the most important tips I can give you guys. If you buy a turkey with one of those thermometers in it, the first thing you're going to do is yank that son of a gun out because it's set to go off at 180 degrees. That is 15 degrees over when it is safe to eat turkey, which means it's going to be dried out no matter what because you overcooked it based on that thermometer. So that thing comes right out. Just rip it out, throw it away. Use your own thermometer. And when that comes to 165 degrees, you're going to take that turkey out. You're going to set it on your countertop and you're not going to cover it in foil or anything else. All right. You're just going to let it sit at room temperature until you are ready to carve it. And the reason for that is because we have to let it rest so that all the juices can redistribute inside that turkey. But most importantly, by not covering it, you're not going to stay soggy. It's going to stay crispy. It's going to stay golden, and it's going to hold all that heat in. All right. So let us just go through one more time to make sure we're all on the same page and we get success for this Thanksgiving. This week, plan your menu. Right? Make sure you know exactly what you want to serve, when you want to serve it. I always do a timeline for myself just to make sure that I know exactly how I want things to come out, timing wise. Order your turkey if you're ordering one, and any other specialty ingredients. Get that stuff ordered now so that you do not have to sweat about it the week of. Do your inventory, not only on ingredients, on equipment. Make sure you have a place to put your turkey. Make sure you have a place to put all these things when they are done, and you have to put them in your refrigerator. So you have storage containers, baggies, plastic wrap, foil, all that stuff. Right? Don't forget that if you have to cook for a ton of people, it's way easier to cook smaller turkeys or parts of turkeys instead of big turkeys. Okay. Just don't try to be a hero and allow yourself a little grace. Make it easy on yourself. Check your spices for freshness. If you kept your spices on the top of your stovetop, get rid of all of them and replace them so that you can have fresh, tasty spices and herbs. Make sure you break up your shopping list. Again, you've got your shelf stable stuff, goods, that kind of thing, your non-perishables, butter, flour, that type of stuff. And then you've got your fresh, right? Stuff that you got to buy the week of so that it is fresh and perfect for your service. Guys, did you know you can freeze gravy? Gravy is one of those things, as long as you do not use cornstarch, if you use flour to make your gravy, you can absolutely freeze it. Cornstarch is not freezer friendly, all right? It turns it to jelly and it will never, ever heat up in the same way. It'll get clumpy and lumpy, not good. All purpose flour, absolutely. Get those rolls par baked and thrown in your oven so that they only take half the time to bake up for fresh hot dinner rolls. And your pie crust, again, if you want to roll them out, leave them flat and ready to go. Layer them with parchment paper in between so that you can have all your pie crust done and ready, room temperature for 30 minutes. Put them in your pie pan, ready to go. All right, so now we're getting a little bit closer to the time. The week of Thanksgiving, you want to start defrosting your turkey. Guys, a 20-pound bird will take 4 days to defrost. Okay, 4 days. That's Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. It has to be defrosted before you put it in the oven on Thursday, or you're going to end up with cold spots and uneven cooking. Okay. And that especially goes for anybody who's frying a turkey. You do not want to put a wet turkey in a fryer. Oh, no. Bad news. Bad news. Make sure it's thoroughly thawed and thoroughly dried out. You want to make sure that you've got plenty of space in your fridge and freezer. Get rid of anything you don't need. You can buy all of your hearty veg like onions, potatoes, garlic, your green beans, and things like that, all well in advance if you'd like. You can make your cranberry sauce and your pureed soups well in advance and freeze those as well. And then finally, guys, the last thing you want to do about the 26th this year is finish all your shopping with all of your fresh produce and do not waste time. Bring it home, wash it, and get it ready for use. All right. Don't leave it in its bags and things like that, or you're going to have the extra step when it comes time to cooking. Get everything out of its bags, get everything ready, get it all washed, wash your lettuces, get them put in new bags, things like that, so that you're ready to go. All right. Always remember, prep is the key to any successful dinner, but especially a big one like Thanksgiving. I hope that you guys learned something today. I hope you had fun. And I hope more than anything that you guys have a very, very blessed and wonderful Thanksgiving.
Thank you very much, Jill. You are the best.
Thank you, guys.
See you in 2025.
Yes. Happy oh my gosh. Happy holidays, y'all. Thank you.